The void outside the Orc cloud was not empty. It thrummed with hidden energies and whispered secrets to those who knew how to listen. Captain Myra Daston of the United Earth Defense Armada knew that better than most. Yet even she could not have anticipated the ripples her own chronometer-wide anomaly would send through the galactic order. High above the ice-dust haze of Jupiter's orbit, the flagship Imperator drifted in warship formation among its escorts. The Empire's mechanical vultures circling prey they assumed helpless. Within the cavernous command bridge, Admiral Seraphus Lorm paced, each measured footstep echoing against metal plating. Behind him, the holomap of Sol System glowed pale blue, dotted with the familiar orbits of Mercury, Venus, Earth, and the gas giants beyond. Sensor arrays Delta through Theta report anomalous readings, intoned Lieutenant Aruna Vale, her eyes dancing across glyphic displays. She was new to the Empire's inner circle, no more than a decade removed from basic academy training, but already renowned for her uncanny ability to reconcile conflicting data feeds. Lorne halted in front of her station. "Detail," he commanded, voice a low rumble held taut like a drawn bowstring. A string of numbers and symbols flickered across the central hollow projection. "Energy signature is massive, Admiral. Roughly equivalent to a standard Omega class. Supercarrier, but different. The power spectrum doesn't match Imperial reactors. There are temporal fluctuations, as though faint echoes of old warp drives." Around them, the bridge crew exchanged anxious glances. Omega-class vessels were the Empire's pride 40 kilometers of star-forged steel, bristling with ion cannons, cloaked in reactive armor. That Earth, quarantined for 40 years as technologically primitive, might possess one was unthinkable. Lorne turned to the second officer, Commander Karis Emshan. "Verify the quarantine logs. We've had no reports of fourth generation engines or hyperparticle assembly plants on Earth." Emshan's holographic datapad scrolled voluminous archives. "Confirmed, Admiral. Nothing in galactic records. Earth's last known capacity was limited to suborbital shuttles and orbital defense grids, but nothing approaching interstellar capability." A tremor of excitement pulsed through the bridge. The galaxy's most isolated backwater may have been hiding a warship. For the Empire, a revelation of such magnitude could only mean one thing. There was something worth conquering. Enact Protocol Obsidian. Lorne intoned. "Deploy Battle Group 1 Imperator, 5 destroyers, and the Dominion's Eye. We approach with caution, but readiness for full combat engagement. Do not fire without my order." Light minutes closer to the Sol System's outer edge, the Terra Invicta lay in silent ambush. Its silver-gray hull, nearly indistinguishable from the swirling cosmic dust, glowed faintly under the auroral shimmer of adaptive cloaking fields. In the ghostly half-light of Jupiter's magnetosphere, it appeared less a machine and more a Leviathan birthed from starlight. Inside, the atmosphere hummed with tense urgency. Captain Daston stood atop the command dais, flanked by her senior staff. Before her, the main viewplate revealed the incoming flotilla like ravenous sharks drawn by blood in the water. "Lieutenant Heichel," she said, addressing her communications. "Officer, is the quarantine broadcast active?" "Yes, Captain," Heichel replied. "Universal frequency 7.3 has been looped for 6 hours. All arrivals are required to identify and await instructions from High Command on Luna Delta." Daston's russet braids swayed as she nodded. "Good, but if they're Empire vessels, they won't abide by that." A soft chime interrupted her. Science Officer Marisol Kavos tapped a sensor readout. "Captain, interference on long-range channels. The Imperator is scrubbing our quarantine beacons. They're closing fast at 15,000 clicks per standard hour." Hal Liminton, Chief Engineer, leaned forward. "Our stabilizers and cloak can handle brief maneuvers, but if they lock visual, we risk discovery." The external shields are at 52% capacity, enough for one volley from a destroyer broadside. Daston's teeth rested in a thin line. She felt the weight of every life on Terra Invicta, the gifted engineers who dared rebuild a Golden Age legacy in secret, the diplomats who negotiated hidden alliances among the Belt colonies, and the young cadets who believed one day they'd captain a vessel like this. "Very well," she said. "Maintain stealth until they hurl the first volley. Then we respond with calibrated precision. We are not here for a war of annihilation, only deterrence. Our objective: make them think twice before breaching Earth's quarantine ever again." Back on the Imperator, Admiral Lorne felt the momentum shift as the Empire's flagship broke through Jupiter's radiation belts. "All batteries to scanning mode," he ordered. "Target vessels 1 through 3 scan for reactor profiles and anomalous spectral residues." The destroyers answered, triangulating Terra Invicta's weakened emissions. On the tactical grid, the silhouette of a colossal warship blinked into view, its contours suggesting both grace and menace. The bridge went silent with collective astonishment. "Impossible," whispered Lorne's intelligence officer. "That signature. Omega class, yes, but built from archaic plasma alloys. We've never recorded this material state since the Old Republic designs." Adrenaline spiked through Lorne's veins. He squared his shoulders and tapped the command console. "Open a secure channel. Play our standard Imperial demand. Surrender, or be destroyed." The ship shuddered as the Imperator's relays booted the encryption keys. On Terra Invicta's viewplate, the silver hull gleamed defiantly. "Captain," Heichel's voice crackled. "Incoming transmission from the Imperator. Encrypted by Level 7 protocols." "Shall I patch it through?" Daston paused, hand on the console. "Yes, but mark it priority. Let them reveal their bluff." The communication link sparked to life across 90 million kilometers of void. Admiral Lorne's visage filled the holoviewport, framed by the austere uniform of Imperial Command. "This is Admiral Seraphus Lorne of the Galactic Empire. You're in breach of Sol System Quarantine Protocol. Cease all cloaking measures and identify your vessel, or we will engage." "At will." Daston's russet eyes met the Admiral's cold steel gaze. All around her, officers held their breath. If they surrendered, their hidden warship would be gutted. If they refused, a battle would erupt. Earthlings were technologically unprepared. "4. Admiral Lorne," Daston replied, voice steady but laced with authority. "This is Captain Mira Daston of the United Earth Defense Armada. You are the intruder, not we. Earth's quarantine is sovereign. Withdraw your fleet, or we will defend our home." Silence. Then Lorne's lips curved in a thin smile. "So be it." The hush shattered as Terra Invicta's engines flared, adaptive cloaks shifting into combat mode. Twin hyperpulse disruptors hummed to life, their energy cores coalescing into prismatic fields of power unseen by Imperial engineers. "Target lead destroyer," Daston ordered. "Initiate ion drain protocol non-lethal. Disable their systems, leave them drifting." Hal Linnington murmured to his deputies, "Focus on synchronized pulses. If we strike too hard, we risk collapsing their reactor arrays. We want a warning shot, not a kill." Moments later, a blinding arc of incandescent energy lanced across space, searing through the lead destroyer's shields like a hot blade through silk. Its engines stuttered, lights blinked out, and it limped away, powerless dot on the Imperator. Warning klaxons screamed. Admiral Lorne rocked back, fury igniting his features. "All batteries return fire. Show them the Empire's wrath." But as the Imperial flotilla unleashed broadsides, Terra Invicta danced between volleys, each shot glancing off its adaptive hull with minimal damage. The Supercarrier's point defenses erupted, lighting up the void in cascades of flak and laser. Bursts so precise they shredded incoming fighters mid-launch. Dastan watched the unfolding spectacle with grim satisfaction. Earth had not built this vessel for conquest or glory. They had built it to protect their home from threats older than the stars themselves, and in this moment, to show the Empire that humanity's resolve was unbreakable. As the first volleys echoed across the silent gulf, a single truth burned brighter than any supernova. Sol System had awakened, and there was no turning back. The void trembled with latent power as the United Earth Defense Armada's hidden supercarrier, Terra Invicta, and the Galactic Empire's battle group closed to firing range. Starlight danced off adaptive cloaks, and the hum of hyperdrives felt like distant thunder. On both command bridges, officers braced themselves, knowing the coming minutes would shape the fate of Sol System forever. The calm before the storm on the Imperator. Admiral Seraphus Lorne stood before the main viewport, arms folded behind his back. The silhouette of Terra Invicta shimmered into view, an impossibly vast warship cloaked in shifting fields of prismatic light. He studied it as one might regard a mythical leviathan, equal parts awe and contempt in his gaze. "Admiral, Lieutenant," Aruna Vale reported, "our tactical analysis indicates they're wagering on superior shielding and temporal phase disruptors. Their design is optimized for quick, crippling strikes rather than prolonged bombardment." Lorne nodded. "Then we force a brawl of attrition. Break their shields, isolate their command tower, and board by fire pods. Prepare boarding parties." Behind him, the bridge lights dimmed as the Imperator diverted power from life support reserves to weapon arrays. Ion cannon banks rumbled to life, their coils glowing azure. On the holomap, destroyers and cruisers fanned out into attack vectors, codename Lion's Maw. First Salvus light years of distance collapsed in the span of a heartbeat. Terra Invicta's captain Mira Dastan tapped the command rail, voice calm but resolute. "Weapons officer, unlock the hyperpulse disruptors. Target the lead destroyer's port engine cluster. Take care to avoid structural collapse." "Yes, Captain," replied Lieutenant Navid Karish, his fingers dancing over holo controls. A moment later, two beams of unstable energy lanced out. The destroyer's shields buckled. Antigrav pylons glitched, and it spun helplessly, dragging drifting pods of debris from its ruptured hull. Behind the frigate cluster, the Empire's fighters, sleek Nyx-class interceptors swooped in, breaking through Terra Invicta's outer point defenses. Their nose-mounted disruptors flared in rapid bursts, peppering the Supercarrier's dorsal armor. "Direct hits on quadrants 5 and 7, reported Chief Engineer Hal Linnington from the damage console. "Reinforcing adaptive mesh now, but sustained fire will erode the reactive plating. We've got maybe 3 volleys before we start taking radiation seep. Redirect power to phase shields," Dastan ordered. "And launch our own interceptors, Squadrons Phoenix 3 and Phoenix 7. We'll keep their fighters off our back." Below the hangar decks, airlock doors thundered open as Earth's newest Aquila-class starfighters rocketed into the void. There, stubby frames bristled with plasma slugs and energy missiles. The dogfight erupted in a flurry of tracer trails and starfire, turning space into an ephemeral kaleidoscope of light. Turning the tide back on the Imperator, Admiral Lorne watched the defensive screens flicker as his destroyers and a crippled heavy cruiser were picked apart one by one. The Empire's vaunted long-range cannons struggled to find purchase on Terra Invicta's shimmering hull. "Admiral, we're losing escorts at an alarming rate," intoned Commander Karasim Shan. "If we can't break that enemy's shields within the next 5 minutes, our fleet will be cut down to the flagship alone." Lorne's jaw tightened. "Divert all remaining battery power to the Dominion's eye. Charge the Suntech accelerator. We'll punch through with one big shot." Moments later, a massive beam coalesced around the Empire's command vessel, an immense rod of concentrated devastation. In the shadow of Terra Invicta, it flared into existence, aimed with surgical precision. On Daston's bridge, Marisol Kvost's eyes widened. Cap charge signature matching a Suntech core. They're risking a core discharge blast. Daston's heart pounded. If the shot hit home, Terra Invicta's front shields would collapse, exposing the command superstructure. Evasive pattern Rohan 4 execute. She barked. The supercarrier lurched, thrusters flaring, adaptive cloak shimmering in contradance. The beam struck but glanced off the angled armor, dissipating into a spiral of harmless energy. On these, Imperator, Lorne snarled in frustration. Repeat. All pylons to accelerator. He roared, but Terra Invicta's return fire was already on its way. 4 hyperpulse beams converged on the Imperial flotilla's rear guard, each shot calibrated to disable rather than destroy. Power grids overloaded, communication arrays fizzled, and dozens of ships drifted powerless into the cold emptiness. The price of victory, for a moment. An eerie stillness settled over the battlefield, flickering battle lanterns against the star-strewn backdrop. Both sides reeled from the damage inflicted. On Terra Invicta, power routing panels glowed red, and an acrid smell of ionized air tinged the corridors. Damage report. Daston called. 15% hull breach on port observation deck. Life support rerouted, Hal Lennington answered. Shields holding at 70%, engines at 90%. Fighters depleted by 30%. Daston closed her eyes briefly. Every hit to this vessel was a wound to Earth's secret. Hope. Yet she could not allow mercy to stall their defense. She keyed her badge. All squadrons regroup on my signal. We press forward. Load heat plasma charges on the next wave target, the Dominion's eye reactor banks. We end this now, or we die trying. Downlink from the Empire crackled. Lorne's face, marred by stress, filled the view. This is your final warning. Surrender your vessel and stand down, or witness the Empire's true might. Daston offered. A tight smile. You misjudge us, Admiral. Earth does not yield. She flipped a wrist command. Fire pattern Valkyrie. The Supercarrier's aft batteries unleashed a salvo of plasma torpedoes, each warhead flashing like newborn suns before vaporizing into the lead cruiser's shields. The cruiser's hull collapsed into a ragged bloom of molten steel and nuclear. Echo. On the Imperator, the bridge trembled. Commander Ishan gasped as secondary screens erupted in sirens. They've taken out 2 heavy cruisers in under a minute. Lorne's eyes blazed with fury and something deeper, a grudging respect. He banged his fist on the armrest. Very well. Let us see if their armor can stand one more test. Aftermath and foreshadowing as the battered fleets drifted apart. To regroup, both commanders wrestled with the cost of engagement. On Terra Invicta, Captain Daston surveyed the damage control teams already welding hull fractures shut and rerouting power lines through makeshift conduits in the galley. Fighter. Pilots slumped in their seats, cleaning plasma soot from their flight suits. Their voices were subdued, but beneath the exhaustion lay a fierce pride. They had stood their ground against the galaxy's greatest power. Meanwhile, deep within the Imperator, Admiral Lorne convened a crisis council. Flickering holograms displayed the scars of his fleet, the smoking remains of once proud cruisers and destroyers. He tapped the datapad, eyes narrowing as he pondered his next move. We underestimate Earth at our peril, he murmured. This is more than a simple quarantine breach. It is a declaration of war. Prepare Operation Eclipse. Our full response will be swift and unrelenting. As both sides withdrew to lick their wounds and plan their next strikes, the uncharted gulf between captors and the captive had been shattered. Sol System was no longer an abandoned backwater, but the crucible of a new galactic conflict. And in that crucible, Neither side could foresee the greater forces stirring in the darkness. Beyond their sensors' forces that would soon sweep them both into a battle for the very soul of the galaxy. The corridors of Terra Invicta thrummed with subdued urgency. Beyond the tactical victories and the roaring engines, the heart of the Supercarrier lay in its soul, the Soul Forge, forged from ancient plans and salvaged fragments of old Republic technology. The forge was both artifact and engine, a nexus of untamed solar power refined through crystalline conduits. Here, humanity's greatest secret pulsed with life. Beneath the armor captain, Mira Daston descended from the bridge in boots that left no echo on the polished alloy floors. At her side, Chief Engineer Hal Linnington carried a datapad ablaze with diagnostic runes and efficiency matrices. Every deck they passed resonated with the low hum of fusion cores, shield generators, and waveguides, each a testament to the prodigious efforts of Earth's scattered genius. Status? Daston asked as they approached airlock Delta 9, its double doors sliding open to reveal a cavernous chamber ringed by towering crystal arrays. Howe exhaled, brushing a lock of dark hair from his forehead. We're at 48% reactor integrity. The forge has bled power to sustain our shields and weapon arrays. If we continue at full combat output, the containment fields risk fracturing. Daston nodded gravely. Then we have one shot to end this. How soon can we calibrate the Soul Forge's primary emitter to target the Empire's flagship reactor? Give me 15 minutes, Howe replied, glancing at the readouts. But I'll need full access to the inner control loops and the Council's approval to override the safety protocols. It's a dangerous gambit. She placed her hand on his shoulder. Earth's safety depends on it. Get it done. With that, she strode forward through the concentric rings of crystal columns, each humming at a slightly different resonance frequency, converging toward the core. Council of Forgers. Within the Forge's inner sanctum, the Council of Forgers awaited. 5 brilliant minds, exiled scientists, rogue orbital architects, even a former Imperial technician turned refugee, each held a key fragment of the Forge's operating code. Their faces bore the glow of crystalline light, etched with exhaustion. And resolved. Dr. Kavita Rao, architect of the plasma conduits, stepped forward. Captain, we've isolated the temporal phase modulators. But if we spike the pulses above threshold, the feedback could destabilize the entire array. We risk a catastrophic containment breach. Beside her, ex-Imperial Tech Warner Glantz added, bitterly, I calibrated those modulators in secret. I know how they tiered spacetime itself. A misstep could not just destroy this ship, but create a micro-singularity one that might swallow half the Jovian moons. Daston met their eyes. We understood those risks when we built this vessel. The Empire will rally stronger fleets. If we merely dent their pride, we need a decisive strike on the Dominion's eye, their command node. If we collapse their Suntech reactor into a controlled singularity, the fleet's network will unravel. They'll have no choice but to retreat. A hush fell. The Forge's tall columns chimed softly, as though weighing her words. Hal spoke up. Captain's right. We loaded the hyperpulse disruptors with low-yield pulses to disable their escorts. Now we need high-yield focus. I can recalibrate the emitter to concentrate the Forge's plasma flow into a breaching beam. Dr. Rowe rubbed her temples. We'd have to bypass Layer 3 safety interlocks. No automated fallback. Manual override, one code from each of us. Daston nodded firmly. Then we do it. Council, authorize the bypass. Engineer Linnington, you have 20 minutes. Symphony of plasma, the chamber's lights dimmed as each forger placed a palm on their control glyph. Soft tones harmonized until a deep thrumming arose the forge, awakening. Crystalline arrays glowed from sapphire to molten gold as plasma streams coalesced along the conduits. Hal knelt at the emitter's control console, voice steady. Bypass unlocked. Safety interlocks disengaged. He flipped a switch, and the control rod slid aside with a pneumatic hiss. Above them, the central plasma reservoir swirled with coruscating energy. Tiny motes of light danced like fireflies in a nocturnal meadow, each a droplet of raw solar force. Through reinforced viewports, they could see the pale glimmer of Jupiter's bands in the distance, a reminder of home they fought to protect. Charging. How intoned, adjusting phase aligners. We're drawing 6 exajoules per cycle. Heat levels rising to 92% containment. Suddenly, alarm shrieked. The forge shuddered. Microfractures flickered in the outer lens. Captain Daston's voice cut through. Manual vent at Sector 7 now. Dr. Rao leapt to the vent control panel, redirecting the overflow lines. A cascade of iridescent plasma vented into secondary coils, stabilizing the core. Steam hissed. Consoles glowed red. Werner Glantz wiped sweat from his brow. We held it. Recommend we start firing sequence immediately. Containment is only marginally stable. How key to final command. Emitter primed. Targeting vectors cinched to the Dominion's eye coordinates. Beam path optimized for minimal ambient loss. Daston straightened, slipping on her helmet and sealing the visor. All hands brace for phase. Let's show the Empire the price of hubris. On the bridge, alarms rang in a cacophonous symphony. Captain, forge beam is locking on, reported Tactical Officer Marisol Kvast. Estimated time to target, 10 seconds. Outside the viewplate, a pinprick of blue-white light flared. In the distance, then bloomed into a colossal beam of pure plasma. It arced across the void like lightning from a god-struck sky, trailing tendrils of superheated energy that carved a luminous path. Within moments, the beam struck the Dominion's eye. By Imperial articulations, the mighty flagship trembled as its Sumtech core ignited in a supercritical burst. The hull buckled inward, massive shock waves rippling through space. Debris and radiation arcs blossomed like a cosmic firework, consuming the command vessel and a blossom of neutronium shards dotting the immediate aftermath. Every Imperial warship within 100,000 kilometers felt the tremor. Shields flickered. Navigation arrays grounded, and a chorus of alarms bellowed through their bridge decks. On Terra Invicta, the bridge crew held their breath until the last tremor faded. Then the starfield beyond their viewplate returned to stillness devoid of the once dominant silhouette of the Dominion's eye. Captain Daston removed her helmet, voice calm but triumphant. Status? Imperial fleet in disarray, Kvast replied. Communications jammed. Their destroyers are drifting. Their cruisers have dropped out of formation. They're pulling back. Howe leaned against the console, exhaustion evident. In his stance, forge integrity, holding at 70%. We're stable for now. Daston exhaled, letting relief wash through her. Send the rescue crews to the drifting destroyers. Offer aid under truce flag. Then plot a course back to Luna Outpost Delta for repairs. And inform the Federal Council. Earth has spoken. The Empire has no claim here. Echoes of a new dawn as Terra Invicta drifted from the battlefield. Her battered escorts gathered around, their day's crews blinking in the harsh glare of foreign sunbeams. In the debris field, makeshift escape pods floated like ghosts human. Lives saved by the captain's mercy. On the way home, Daston retreated to her quarters. She unfurled an old holophoto, the Continental Congress Hall on New Earth. Years before, where scientists first swore to safeguard the Soulforge. Faces of friends lost in the schism flickered across the image. Dr. Lena Miles, who drafted the original schematics. Admiral Hugo Thorne, who liaised with the Belt colonies. And thousands of nameless engineers who toiled in secret. She whispered a vow into the silent cabin. Your sacrifice was not in vain. Then she reached for the datapad. Emperor's envoys would soon propose terms. Earth could negotiate from strength for the first time in centuries. But even as the battered Supercarrier limped toward Luna, a new question loomed. Who had observed the Forge's reawakening? Somewhere in the dark reaches of the galaxy, alliances and rivalries shifted with the Forge's tremors aliens beyond the Empire's ken. Hidden cabals on the fringe and mechanical intelligences older than the stars themselves. Forces were stirring, drawn by the pulse of the Forge, and they did not heed treaties or quarantine protocols. Captain Daston closed her eyes, steeling herself. The battle for Sol System had been won, but the war for the galaxy's future was only beginning. And at its center burned the Soul Forge, Earth's greatest hope, and its most dangerous secret.